Now on BBC One in the North East and Cumbria, the BBC News and Look North. It's 1 o'clock.
Today at 1, oil and gas prices rise significantly after strikes on energy infrastructure across the Gulf. Iran vows the complete destruction of energy hubs in countries allied to the US and Israel if its facilities are targeted further. We'll ask what it means for UK households. Also on the programme, we coped, but only just. The chair of the UK COVID inquiry warns the NHS came close to collapse in the latest report on the pandemic. The Health Secretary calls for anyone who visited the Canterbury nightclub at the centre of a meningitis outbreak to come forward and receive antibiotics and the vaccine. This lunchtime, the University of Kent expands its vaccination programme to cover all students and staff.
These are precautionary steps to help us contain the spread. We're keeping that situation under review. We may well expand eligibility for antibiotics and vaccination in the coming days.
New powers for councils in England to force fly tippers to clean up their mess and pick up the bill under government proposals to tackle waste crime. And from the sandy beaches of Dorset to the salt marshes of Suffolk, King Charles officially opens more than 2,500 miles of path stretching around England's coastline.
In Look North, more tests are called for amid fears that poisons are being flushed out and wildlife harmed by disposal of materials dredged from the Tees. And the school that's won Ofsted praise for its SEND education.
Hello and welcome to the BBC News at 1. Iran has vowed the complete destruction of energy infrastructure in Gulf countries that are allied with the US and Israel if its own facilities are targeted again. It's after Israel launched an attack on the world's largest natural gas field in Iran overnight, which was followed by strikes on Saudi Arabia and Qatar in retaliation. Gas prices in the UK and Europe have risen sharply since the attacks, as our business correspondent Emma Simpson reports.
In the early hours, a glimpse of the world's largest gas plant in Qatar. Production was already suspended. Now extensive damage has been reported. Iran's retaliation after this Israeli strike on its vast gas facility. Tit-for-tat attacks on energy infrastructure in the Gulf has opened up a new front in this conflict, sending energy markets into fresh turmoil. UK wholesale gas prices are up 25%, still lower than the peak from the war in Ukraine, but it's a huge spike. Oil is also up. A barrel of Brent crude hit $114 this morning. The price of oil is now around 50% higher since the start of the war. Analysts are worried.
So Ras Laffan in Qatar is responsible for almost 20% of all LNG produced in the world. So the impact on global gas supply is that there's going to be less of it for longer. Even when the war ends, it's going to take a while for this facility to be fully fixed and up and running at full capacity again. And that's had a huge impact on prices.
Before this war began, our energy bills were set to go down. The energy price cap will protect households until July. But then what?
We're getting to the point where getting facilities up and running again in the summer is going to see prices increasing later in the year. The only thing we can all do at the moment is hope that these prices, hope that the situation starts resolving itself. Hopefully seeing shipments through the Strait of Hormuz.
The government hopes so too.
We're being very rigorous at looking at how this develops over the weeks and months ahead. But I can reassure people now that, honestly, everybody in government, from the Chancellor, the Prime Minister down, everybody is very focused on, first of all, trying to make sure that this war is de-escalated so that we get the economy and the world trade back moving. Secondly, making sure that whatever measures we need to take to make sure that people are protected, we have considered them and we can put them in place.
Eyewitness footage showing an explosion in Saudi Arabia near an oil refinery. It's far from clear how this all ends, but the longer this goes on, the higher energy prices will go, affecting all our lives. Emma Simpson, BBC News.
In a moment, we'll get the latest from the Middle East with our correspondent Azadeh Moshiri, but first we're joined by Deputy Economics Editor Darshini David. And Darshini, in the last hour we've heard interest rates being held at 3.75%. How is this conflict going to impact UK households?
No surprises from the Bank of England. It too, like the rest of us, has been watching those energy prices very closely. They refer to what's happened as a shock, which gives you an understanding of how seriously they are taking this. And they are predicting, as it stands, and they had this discussion yesterday, by the way, before the overnight spike in energy prices, that inflation would end this year at 3%, 3.5%, rather than the 2% previously thought. Now, analysts are saying the way things have moved overnight, we could be looking at 4%. So not as bad as a few years ago, but still very unwelcome. And as a result, it does look like the chances of further rate cuts has been vastly diminished. In fact, some are now speculating about the possibility of rate increases before the end of the year. And that is why, of course, we've seen some unrest in the mortgage markets in recent weeks as well, because of those expectations that interest rates will be higher than previously thought. And that is going to cause further unease in those particular markets, potentially adding hundreds of pounds to new borrowers' bills as well, which is incredibly tricky, of course, at the moment. All of this depends, as we were just hearing there from Emma, on how long this carries on for. But if we do see a prolonged conflict, we are going to see pressure not just on energy bills, but on other prices too. And then the focus is going to shift onto the government and what support we might see there. But all of this, of course, has a long way to play out.
Darshini, thank you very much. Let's go to our correspondent, Azadeh Moshiri, who's in Dubai. And Azadeh, what's the response been in the Gulf to Iran's warnings?
A lot of anger, and that was reflected in a statement, a joint statement by a group of Arab and Islamic nations that both condemned Iran's attacks, but also what they called Israel's expansionist policy. This statement was also signed by Lebanon. And part of what they're really angry about is that this is their worst case scenario, the energy sector being caught up in the middle of this war. And they knew that they would be on the front line of Iran's fury. Iran has targeted countries that host US bases or interests in the past, but they've been taken aback by the scale of these attacks, because on the one hand, these are sectors that these countries depend on: energy, tourism, technology. This is what their economic models have built big plans for, and their image of stability and safety, especially in a place here like Dubai, is what they depend on. And then on the other side, it's worth remembering that some of these countries have played mediating roles between Iran and the West during conflicts in the past. So if Iran was isolated before this, viewed as a threat on behalf of the United States and Israel, it's now severely damaged relationships it was counting on for decades to come.
Azadeh, thank you very much. Azadeh Moshiri in Dubai. In the last hour, the COVID-19 inquiry has published its latest report, finding that parts of the NHS were so overwhelmed during the pandemic that they came close to collapse. The inquiry chair, Baroness Hallett, has spent 3 months looking at the pressure hospitals were under and the impact this had on patients and staff. Our health reporter, Jim Reid, has more.
Many hospitals across the country came under huge pressure in COVID, with intensive care units spilling out into corridors and side rooms. This long-running inquiry spent 10 weeks looking just at the impact on the NHS. It heard from patients and their family members.
I just hope that when the next pandemic comes along, disabled people are treated with a bit more respect.
Sincerely and truly.
And doctors and nurses working on the front line.
These people are used to seeing death, but not on that scale and not like that.
Nurses were at the brunt of this.
Uncomfortable, they might take them off.
In the last hour, the chair, Baroness Hallett, has published her findings. Among her conclusions, parts of the NHS were overwhelmed and came close to collapse. The system did cope, but only just. Some COVID patients did not receive normal levels of care. Millions more had operations and appointments cancelled. And shortages of PPE meant some doctors and nurses had to put themselves and their families at risk.
As Baroness Hallett says, whatever word is chosen, the impact of the pandemic on healthcare systems, their staff and patients was devastating. The impact on doctors and our colleagues was stark, as painfully recounted in this report. Staff had inadequate access to PPE, And even though supplies may never have run out nationally, as the report says, this would have been cold comfort to any doctor or nurse using a bin bag instead of a gown, or being forced to reuse flimsy surgical masks in the face of a deadly disease.
The chair of the inquiry says she expects her recommendations to be implemented in full to better protect the NHS and the country in any future pandemic. Jim Reid, BBC News.
Let's get more now with our health editor, Hugh Pym. And Hugh, what impact will the findings from this report have?
Well, that is a really important question, because talking to representatives of different health groups and unions since the publication of the report out here just behind me, there is a strong view that this report is very welcome, but they need to see a response. And one of Baroness Hallett's key recommendations is that governments, the UK nation's governments, boost capacity in urgent and emergency care and plan what they call, what she calls, surge capacity. In other words, think about the next pandemic and how the NHS might respond, because one of her key findings was that the NHS just wasn't prepared. It was running at full tilt and it just couldn't cope with the sheer demand patient numbers coming into hospitals as the virus spread back in the early months of 2020. And one of the views that I've heard more than once in the last hour or so since the publication is there will be another pandemic, and certainly from the British Medical Association, the Doctors' Union, a view that looked at the NHS now, it is not prepared for another pandemic. There are vacancies, same point made by Royal College of Nursing, there are vacancies, and the staff who've been through that first virus back in 2020 and 2021 and the pandemic then, the idea of it happening again is pretty daunting, and many feeling it would just not be possible. But I think the general tenor of this is that it's a very, very bleak report and being well received.
Thank you very much, Hugh Pym. The Health Secretary has called for anyone who visited the Canterbury nightclub at the centre of a meningitis outbreak to come forward and receive both antibiotics and a vaccine. Wes Streeting made the announcement as he visited the University of Kent. The temporary vaccination programme there has now been expanded to cover all staff and students. Our health correspondent Dominic Hughes reports.
By mid-morning, more than 900 doses of meningitis B vaccine have been administered, with more students and staff at Kent University queuing for their jabs. The idea of the vaccine is to protect those who may have been exposed to the infection, and it's also helped reassure them in a time of growing anxiety.
It's brilliant that the NHS is rolling it out for people our age, especially when, something like this is happening, and the fact that we're getting it for free.
It gives everyone peace of mind. Like, my mum's really happy about it. Like, my family's happy about it. They feel safe.
I haven't been on contact. I was just in my room anyway, but just in case, it's good to be prepared.
The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has been visiting the vaccination centre this morning, a sports hall on the university campus, and he's announced an extension to the vaccine rollout.
We are now encouraging anyone who attended Club Chemistry from the 5th of March until it voluntarily closed to come forward for both antibiotics and vaccination. Furthermore, we're expanding vaccination to anyone who's previously been offered the prophylactic antibiotic. That will include a larger number of students here at the University of Kent. It will include some students at Canterbury Christchurch University, and it will also include sixth formers at 4 schools where we've got known or suspected cases.
There is roughly a case per day of meningitis across the UK, but public health officials are still trying to work out exactly why there's been such an explosive outbreak of cases in Kent.
The scale of the transmission event that we've seen is really, really unusual, and it's certainly not something I've seen in my career. Cases are normal. We do sometimes see cases in universities and small clusters, but what's unusual is the rapid increase that we saw around the 13th of March, and certainly it is very unusual to see such a high number of cases.
This nightclub in Canterbury is where at least the initial cluster of cases seems to have started. The club's owner says it's a very worrying time and wants a wider vaccine rollout.
I think for now the focus has to be on getting the rollout of the vaccine, getting as many people and offering it to as many people as possible. I'm not suggesting that everybody should have it if they don't want to have it, but I think the option for them should be there.
More cases may yet emerge. The incubation period for the illness means some people may not yet have been identified, but health experts are stressing the wider risk to the rest of the country is still extremely low. Dominic Hughes, BBC News.
Our reporter Simon Jones is in Canterbury. And Simon, we've been hearing this afternoon that the vaccine rollout is being expanded. What will that mean?
Yeah, and in fact, it's a massive expansion of the vaccination programme. Initially, it only applied to around 5,000 students who lived here on campus at the University of Kent in halls of residence. But now the university has written to staff and students saying anyone can come for a vaccination. That's around 16,000 people. There's a little bit of confusion because I think the government is saying it should be focused on people who've come into close contact with confirmed cases, but it's also going to apply to some students at the other university in the city, Canterbury Christchurch, pupils at sixth form where there have been confirmed cases, and also anyone who was in the Club Chemistry nightclub from the 3rd of March onwards. So that will be thousands more people. And as news has emerged of this expansion, we've seen the queues grow and grow this lunchtime. But for some MPs, that isn't going to be enough because 40 MPs have written to the Health Secretary saying they want to see a catch-up programme for all university students. The issue is that the meningitis B vaccine was only rolled out in 2015 to babies and young children, so it wouldn't apply to the cohort here. The government says that is going to be kept under review. Today they've got 2,000 vaccines available, and judging by the queues, they might need them.
Simon, thank you. Simon Jones in Canterbury. The time is 16 minutes past 1. Time for a reminder of our top story this afternoon. Oil and gas prices rise significantly after strikes on energy infrastructure across the Gulf. We'll ask what it means for UK households. And stretching around the whole of England's shoreline, the world's longest managed coastal path officially opened by King Charles.
In Look North, just after 1:30, currently pedalling up to the Scottish border, Radio 1's Greg James waves bye to Tyneside on his epic comic relief ride. And he's not the only one going through it. This is BBC Newcastle's Matt Bailey, as he raises money as well.
Fly tippers could be forced into clean-up squads to tidy up mess in the areas where they've illegally dumped waste. New government plans would also see councils given new powers to seize money directly from fly tippers to fund clean-up operations, as our correspondent Jenny Kumar reports.
Fly tipping is an increasing blight on communities, from rural areas like this heap on a lane in Wiltshire to urban spaces like here in Swindon. I'm out with the council's enforcement team, who say they're working hard to tackle this crime.
I'll put this straight in the van. So here we have a label on this box with a name and address. That would be a clue as to where this originally came from.
So far this year, the team has removed more than 56 tonnes of dumped rubbish from the town's streets. And the council has issued 24 fines, raising £10,000. Do you think the people that created this mess should be clearing up?
Oh, definitely. They need to be taught how to behave properly as good citizens. And to get them to clear their own mess would be a step in the right direction.
And that's what the government says it now wants to do. Ministers plan to give councils new powers to force offenders to clean up. Authorities would also be able to charge fly tippers up to £300 to cover the clear-up costs.
This is a conditional caution mechanism. What that means is that you accept you have committed the crime, you do your community clean-up, 20 hours of unpaid work, but if you don't do that, then we have a range of further consequences and court appearances.
The Local Government Association, which represents councils in England, say these new powers are welcome, but they need to be properly resourced and supported. The association also wants stronger deterrence, including higher fines when criminals are brought to court. Back in Swindon, the team are doing what they can to keep the streets clean.
This is a week and a half's worth of fly tipping waste that we've collected from all around the borough.
This crime is on the rise. Do you feel you're able to make a difference?
On a very local level, we're already seeing an improvement. Education is the start of everything, but you do need enforcement action as well.
Full details of the government's plans to tackle waste crime are due to be released tomorrow. Communities affected by these offences are impatient for change. Jenny Kumar, BBC News.
2 Iranian men have appeared at Westminster Magistrates Court accused of engaging in conduct likely to assist a foreign intelligence service. They were arrested nearly 2 weeks ago as part of an investigation into alleged surveillance of the Jewish community in London. Our UK correspondent Daniel Sanford is outside the court. Daniel, what's happened there this morning?
Well, after 13 days of being held for questioning by counter-terrorism detectives, the 2 men appeared in the dock in Court 1 here at Westminster Magistrates Court this morning. Both had trimmed beards, both were wearing coats, and they gave their names and addresses through Iranian interpreters. And they're accused of carrying out what was called hostile reconnaissance of Jewish targets in London on behalf of the Iranian intelligence service. And the alleged targets included Britain's oldest synagogue, a campus that included a Jewish school, and also the Israeli embassy. Much of the surveillance is said to have taken place last summer, with some of it having happened in February. 40-year-old Nematullah Shahsavani and 22-year-old Al-Reza Farasati have both been charged with engaging in conduct likely to assist a foreign intelligence service. Shahsavani came to the UK in 2009 and now has both British and Iranian nationality. He is married with 2 children. Farasati came to the UK on a family reunion visa in 2021 to join his mother when he was 17. And he only has Iranian nationality. The Chief Magistrate, Paul Goldspring, said that they would remain in prison until their next court appearance at the Old Bailey on the 17th of April.
Daniel, thank you very much. Daniel Sanford. Kemi Badenoch has insisted that the Conservatives will be fighting to win everywhere as she launched her party's local election campaign for England. Speaking in central London, the Tory leader promised to get Britain working again and vowed to cut business taxes and recruit 10,000 extra police officers.
The Conservative Party is on the side of people who want to get on, people saving up to buy a home, mums and dads trying to build a better life for their children. These are our people, and we are fighting for them at this local election in London, in Essex, in Norfolk, in Solihull, in Lincolnshire, in Plymouth, anywhere that people have a vote. We are coming back for hard-working people up and down this country who need our help. We are coming back to save them from third-rate people running their government and their councils. We are coming back to cut their taxes, to clean up the places they live in. We are coming back, and we will get Britain working again.
Meanwhile, Reform has launched its own manifesto in Scotland ahead of the May elections. The party's chairman, David Bull, said the stakes are incredibly high. Among its pledges, Reform has proposed cutting the number of MSPs by reducing the number of constituencies in Scotland. The £100 cap on contactless card payments in the UK is being lifted today, with the Financial Conduct Authority allowing banks to set their own spending limits. However, many banks and card firms are sticking to the original figure for now. Our business reporter, Peter Ruddock, has been finding out why.
We've all become used to being able to simply tap, pay, and walk away. When the system was first launched back in 2008, you could actually only purchase something costing £10 or less. That has gradually increased over the years, and that's been needed because we now use it more than any other form of payment. In fact, nearly 19 billion payments were made using contactless in 2024 alone. As of today, technically, there is no limit. The financial regulator allowing banks to go above £100 to set their own limits, as long as they have good fraud controls in place. However, none of the major banks or financial providers are actually increasing the limit. None of these brands. Why? Well, partly because they say demand from us isn't there. But there's also an issue with the technology. Retailers would have to update their payment devices that are already set to ask us to enter our PIN if we want to spend over £100. Updating the payment network would be complex and costly. And then, of course, there's the fact that many of us, more than half of us, don't use our card. We use contactless with our phone. And apps like Google Pay and Apple Pay don't have the same limits. So, given the move to mobile, the difficulty of changing systems, will card contactless limits actually change anytime soon?
I think if the technology develops and the fraud controls that banks have continue to improve in the way that they have done over recent years, then the banks will have more appetite to increase that contactless limit, because ultimately it's the bank that has to refund the customers. The banks are taking the risk on contactless fraud, and also they want to limit that, but they also have to balance consumer convenience. So when it comes to that balance between the two, at the moment we all think that £100 is about right, but that may change in the future.
So, most banks and financial firms sticking with our £100 limit for now at least. And just a reminder, if you're still concerned, many banks also say their customers, you, are also able to set your own lower limits if you prefer.
Peter Ruddock. Police are investigating a 2010 email Lord Mandelson appeared to share with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein about an EU bailout after the financial crash. The head of the Metropolitan Police, Mark Rowley, has been speaking to ABC News in the US and said officers were looking at whether this was a criminal offence. Lord Mandelson declined to comment. He's currently under investigation over allegations of misconduct in public office, which he denies. Hundreds of thousands of probation appointments with criminals didn't take place over the last 3 years, potentially putting victims at risk of harm. New data from the Ministry of Justice reveals a third of scheduled meetings were missed. It blames unmanageable workloads for its staff. Kevin Spacey has reached an out-of-court settlement with 3 men who'd accused him of sexual assault, and High Court proceedings have now been dropped. The actor, who's previously been cleared of sexual assault in a criminal trial, has denied any wrongdoing. The King has officially opened a new footpath that stretches around the entire coast of England. It's described as the world's longest managed coastal walking route and has taken 18 years to create. More than 1,000 miles of new path has been built. Our climate editor Justin Rolat has been exploring the new route.
The King Charles III path stretches almost 2,700 miles, but the length isn't really the point. What it means is you can now go anywhere on the English coast and turn left or right and walk for as long as you want. The last links were still being put in place last week under the supervision of Natural England, the government body tasked with creating the trail.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. The best thing I will ever do in my working life. We've worked very closely with landowners and occupiers to get our proposals right. And what's amazing is we've worked with over 25,000 people, and the rate of objection to our proposals, 2.5%. Because we take the time to bring people with us on what is a fantastic vision.
The route was the brainchild of Gordon Brown's government 18 years ago. It took a new law passed in 2009 requiring future governments both to make the path and to ensure it can stay open into the future. Our coasts feel the full force of the weather, and that can have devastating consequences. Just look what's happened here. Heavy rain caused a slip here outside Falmouth and brought it to slump away. And look at that, it's taken the path with it. Scientists say we can expect climate change to bring more intense downpours and higher seas, making coastal erosion and landslides like this more likely. Under the law, the path can be moved inland or rolled back where necessary.
The landslip happened at the beginning of February. The path was closed and a diversion was put in place, which was 1.5 miles, but it was using roads. So then the negotiations with the trail partners happened, and we were able to take the 15 metres rollback provision into place and reopen the path within weeks.
So push the path back 15 metres?
Push the path back inland 15 metres.
And what would have happened before?
Previously, without this rollback condition in place, it would have taken us months.
This is about more than just the path, say the Ramblers, which has been campaigning for greater access to England's coastline ever since the end of the Second World War.
What we have now, instead of maybe a footpath that runs along the coast, we've got that fantastic trail, but we've also got the rights to leave the trail, to go and explore and roam the beaches. It's a really fantastic way of people being able to connect to the coast in our island nation.
And the new King's Path raises another enticing possibility, at least for the masochists amongst us. Here's the new England Coast Path. Wales opened its coast path back in 2012. It's 870 miles long. Then there's the 5,500 or so miles of Scottish mainland coast, where walkers have had the right to roam for more than 20 years. Put them all together and you've got a round Britain path. But be warned, it is roughly 9,000 miles long and could take 2 years or more to walk. Who's up for that? Justin Rowlatt, BBC News, Hampshire.
Well, our senior royal correspondent Daniela Relf is in Seaford in East Sussex, where the King's been meeting some of those who contributed to the creation of the path. Daniela, it looks absolutely beautiful. What's been going on there today?
It is an absolutely glorious day here in East Sussex. It's a bit windy, but it's really gorgeous, and it's the ideal day to go on a coastal walk. And that is what the King has been doing today, as well as officially inaugurating the King Charles III England Coast Path. He has been also walking a little bit of it as well. He's not a man who dresses casually easily, and we watched him today put a waterproof jacket over his shirt and his tie and his suit to carry on with this walk. He walked around 2 kilometres along this coastline of East Sussex, stopping every now and then to talk to some of the people who've been involved in this project over a number of years. The King, we know, is an avid walker, so this is very much his ideal royal engagement, really. He has spoken in the past of just how important walking is to personal well-being, and this project very much plays into that thinking. And as we've just heard in Justin's report, what this now offers the King Charles III England Coast Path is a chance for the keenest of walkers amongst us to be able to walk continuously for 2,700 miles, should they want to, around the English coastline, always with a view of the sea, taking in the likes of ancient woodlands, chalk cliffs and salt marshes.
Daniela, thank you. It looks fantastic. Daniela Relf there. A reminder of our top story this afternoon. Oil and gas prices rise significantly after strikes on energy infrastructure across the Gulf. We're asking what it means for UK households. And after more than 50 years of the likes of Mr. Bump and Little Miss Sunshine, we meet the man keeping his dad's much-loved characters alive. Talking of sunshine, we'll have a full forecast in the next half hour, but let's have a quick look at the weather with Darren. Darren, still plenty of blue skies around.
Yes, Karin, we've got perfect weather for walking today and probably over the next few days as well. We've got the sunshine out far and wide and it feels pleasantly warm. It's not quite as warm across England and Wales as it was yesterday, but across Scotland and Northern Ireland tomorrow, it could be the warmest day of the year. Here is our temperature map, and you can see how the colours change. Temperatures dropping nearer to average as we head towards the weekend and certainly into the beginning of next week. And if you're looking for rainfall, and who wants rainfall? We've had enough of that already this year. There won't really be any. If there is any, it's going to be across the northwest of Scotland. So the next few days looking fine and dry. Misty mornings, chilly mornings, but some warm sunshine. I'll have more later on. Karin.
Darren, thank you very much. Now, they're incredibly popular dogs, but so-called designer crossbreeds like cockapoos and labradoodles are more likely to exhibit undesirable behaviours compared to their purebred parents. The new research from the Royal Veterinary College found that the dogs display more anxiety and more aggression, as well as issues with training. Our reporter Alison Freeman has more.
Taking a stroll in the spring sunshine. After her previous bigger dogs died, Viv got Dolly, a smooth-coated cockapoo, in lockdown.
Decided I'd get something smaller, something more manageable, something the family could help look after, enjoy. The look of her, just thought, oh yeah, beautiful. This is going to be manageable. They're hypoallergenic and they come with less illnesses.
But as lovable as Dolly is, she's presented far more problems than Viv was expecting after she spent time researching the mixed breed.
Well done, Dolly. You name, I've tried a front harness, a back harness, and I went up and I've got a Holly, put it on her. I've got full control. She's a loyal and loving dog, but has come with a lot of uncertainties, a lot of trust issues where I can't leave her with grandchildren. She has a lot of fear of aggression. She has a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainties. She's not very trusting. I think a lot of it is insecurities with her. And then obviously she's gone on to snack the grandchildren. I found out recently she's snacked the dog walker's son. I know if some other dog comes past, she's going to pounce, she's going to growl, she's got to bare her teeth. And I'm aware of like how unpredictable she's going to be. So her anxieties have just overtook the family, really. I haven't really got a lot of choices of where we can go with that.
And so Viv has taken a step she felt was the only way to make life with Dolly safer.
She's been on medication since September gone, trying just to keep her calm and be a bit more sedate and a little bit more, so she's more like friendly with everybody. She's not as needy, which it is working with her. But how long do you medicate a dog for? Like, I just don't know.
Good girl.
Viv is just one of a number of owners of so-called designer breeds who found their pets have far more problems than they expected. The Royal Veterinary College spoke to the owners of more than 9,000 dogs to compare the behaviour of crossbreeds with their purebred parents. The results showed that designer doodles differed from the purebreeds in just over half of the 24 behavioural areas they compared, and that where there were differences, the doodle breed's behaviours were more undesirable in 8 out of 10 cases.
That's a boy.
Researchers said that the most common issues were fear of loud noises, separation anxiety, aggression, and problems with training.
This is a challenge because so many owners are potentially buying them thinking that they'll be an off-the-shelf, easy dog to live with and train and to live with their children. But actually that's potentially misinformation, and this is the first strong evidence to show that their behaviours do differ to their parent breeds, and the owners really need to be aware of this before they go into a purchase decision.
It's certainly been a steep learning curve for Viv, even as an experienced dog owner who did her own research. Would you get another Dolly again?
I love her dearly, but I don't think I would do it again. Definitely not.
Alison Freeman, BBC News.
Now it's time to join our colleagues with the news where you are. The new Archbishop of Canterbury is taking on a 6-day walking pilgrimage from London to Canterbury. It's the first time in modern history that an Archbishop has undertaken a journey like this before their installation. In Palmer has the story.
One small step for Dame Sarah Mullally, one huge leap for women and the Church of England. The new Archbishop of Canterbury is walking to the Mother Church of the Worldwide Anglican Communion and England's ancient Christian seat in Kent.
It's an opportunity, in a sense, to pray, but also to encounter people in part of my preparation to the installation as the Archbishop of Canterbury.
In the Middle Ages, pilgrims were so abundant their number had to be regulated by the Church to protect family and work. Today, the modern version is perhaps seen as unusual and even antiquated, like these pilgrims in Walsingham in Norfolk. But the desire for virtue remains, with faith, prayer, hope, redemption and forgiveness, just a few of them.
The pilgrimage for me is that sense of journeying with God, and what we know is that God is with us in the midst of whatever our circumstances are, and that sense of hope that we have in the future, which isn't necessarily about saying life's going to be all right, but it does say that God is with us. So for me, taking every step every day, knowing that God is with me, whatever the challenges that I face.
The walk to Canterbury will take 6 days. The past few have been difficult for people in the city and the surrounding areas after the Meningitis B outbreak, which has led to the death of 2 people and the infection of others.
You know, we live in a fractured world, so praying for those places where people are going to wake up under the threat of violence and conflict, and also praying for those people in Canterbury at the moment who have been affected by meningitis, for all those affected by it and those that are responding to it.
Pilgrimage is a connection between the spiritual and the physical. As the Archbishop passes through village, church, shrine and community, there's at least some time to reflect on her installation at Canterbury Cathedral on Wednesday of next week.
Any journey, whether it's a physical pilgrimage or journey in life, you in a sense step out not completely knowing what's happening. So there's a sense in which we've done preparation, but also I always step out in faith, knowing that you take each step as it comes prayerfully with other people and trusting in God for your future.
Ian Palmer reporting. For more than 50 years, the Mr. Men books have been cherished by millions of children and parents worldwide, and soon they'll be getting the whodunit treatment. 4 of Agatha Christie's famous novels are being adapted into Mr. Men stories. Here's our arts correspondent David Sillitoe.
This is my office studio, so every day I come in here and create and write Mr. Men and Little Miss books.
This is the sad story of Mr. Bump. The trouble was that Mr. Bump just could not help having little accidents.
Can I be nosy and poke around, because this is too exciting?
If you grew up with the Mr. Men, it's a great place to have a poke around.
The Mr. Men Style Guide.
The Mr. Men Bible. Everything you need to know about the Mr. Men and Little Miss universe.
Poor Mr. Bump. Spent so much money on bandages every week.
And the Mr. Men universe is pretty big these days.
I've actually nearly written and illustrated 200 different storybooks.
Crash with the living room window. Oh dear, thought Mr. Bump.
There's going to be a film, isn't there? There is, yes, which is very exciting news. My dad would have been absolutely amazed that the Mr. Men are going to find themselves on the big screen.
This is a full feature-length film.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, it's only just been announced, so there's kind of no creative idea of how it's going to work, but it's incredibly exciting.
But Adam's main interest at the moment is a literary crossover, introducing under-5s to the world of cosy crime and whodunits.
Agatha Christie. Where did this idea come from? I have to admit, it's not my idea. It was the publisher of Agatha Christie came up with the idea of kind of putting the two together.
Can you have murders for under-5s?
No, unfortunately not. So we've got mischief on the Nile, and
so mischief on the Nile rather than murder on the Nile.
Yeah,
and body in the library?
Yes, we've got bump in the library rather than a body in the library. So.
Mr. Bump, Little Miss Sunshine and all the others are these days global stars. Adam is happy in the background. The man with the marker pen who took on a publishing phenomenon that began nearly 60 years ago when his dad Roger first created a prototype Mr. Man book, a handmade Mr. Tickle.
This is the original Mr. Tickle. So this is where it all started. This is the mock-up that he made to show to publishers.
Am I allowed to touch it?
Yes, please have a look.
Here's Mr. Tickle now. It's almost exactly the same. They haven't changed a thing, really. Mr. Tickle was fast asleep. He was having a dream.
It must have been a very funny dream, because it made him laugh out loud. And that woke him up.
Now, I wonder where this arm's gone to.
Over the years, sales of the books have passed 250 million. But for Adam,
this isn't what you intended to do, is it, though, with your life? No. I mean, strangely, I spent 6 years farming. Yeah, no, I was a stockman and a dairyman before I suddenly donned a Mr. Men cap.
It was Adam's dad, Roger, who created the original Mr. Men. Adam had to step in when his dad suddenly died in his early 50s.
This is me with my dad.
What was your dad like?
He was a larger-than-life character. He loved silly puns. He loved April Fool's Day. It's one of his favourite days of the year.
If he was a Mr. Man, which one would he be?
Oh, definitely Mr. Silly.
Roger, here with Mr. Men narrator Arthur Lowe, was, he says, a character. However, the young Adam who took on his legacy.
I was a very shy and kind of awkward teenager, and I think I shied away from the whole Mr. Men, Little Miss fame side of it. So I kind of that's partly perhaps why I went into farming.
Do you think you've got to know your father better by doing this?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, I feel like I know him much better than I did when he was alive. I really got to know how brilliant an idea he'd come up with, and I kind of regret that I wasn't able to kind of express that to him before he died.
And nearly 40 years on, he continues to draw just like his dad. Each story beginning with a squeak of the marker pen, and always with a happy ending.
So, you see, the story of Mr. Bump isn't such a sad story after all, is it?
David Sillitoe, BBC News.
Such lovely memories. Now, the Radio 1 DJ, Greg James, has raised more than £2 million for comic relief as he continues his epic fundraising challenge attempt. Greg is on the penultimate day of his 1,000-kilometre tandem bike ride, which will end tomorrow in Edinburgh. Earlier, he told the BBC the challenge has been more difficult than he'd anticipated.
I am trying my very, very best to smile, and I have so little energy, but I have a lot of love and I have a lot of strength left, I think, in my head at least, but I am so depleted by this thing. I knew it would be difficult, but I did not think it would be this difficult.
Let's find out what the weather's going to be like for him and everyone else. The weather with Darren. Darren, how much longer can this sunshine last?
Well, Greg's been very lucky because he's had pretty good weather, some warm sunshine around. It continues to be a bit chilly in the mornings, mind you. In Oxfordshire, there was actually a touch of frost this morning, and we have seen temperatures rising very quickly in the sunshine. Now, yesterday in Northern Ireland, we had much more cloud around, even a little bit of rain, but the sun is out today. It feels a lot warmer as well, but there's still some cloud around. Not much of it, mind you. It's affecting the far south of Scotland, parts of Northern England as well, drifting into some parts of Yorkshire. Elsewhere, there is some sunshine. Temperatures in England and Wales still typically 16 to 18 degrees. Very pleasant indeed, just not quite as warm as what we had yesterday. And those temperatures are going to fall fairly quickly under the clear skies overnight. But this low cloud that we've got here, that will drift a bit further south into more of England overnight. There'll be some patches of mist and fog forming as well. But where we keep the clearer skies, there may well be a touch of frost once again, particularly across parts of southern England, perhaps even across Northern Ireland and also the northeast of Scotland as well. But more places will start off a bit grey and misty and murky to begin with tomorrow. That will tend to lift and break up, the sunshine working its way through that. Many places will be dry and sunny once again, and it will feel pleasantly warm too. Now, temperatures in England and Wales continuing to drop a little bit. But for Northern Ireland and for Scotland, it could be the warmest day of the year so far tomorrow. 18 degrees is possible, actually, around the Moray Firth. Over the weekend, temperatures here are going to drop a little. But again, we have a lot of dry weather this weekend. And after some chilly mornings, again, there will be some warm sunshine. We've got high pressure in charge of our weather at the moment. That's why it's so quiet and dry, changing very little. A very weak weather front in the far northwest of Scotland will bring with it more cloud here, and there could be a spot of rain in the Highlands, but that's about it. Some patchy mist and fog elsewhere. It may stay a bit grey around some Irish Sea coast, but otherwise the sunshine will be coming out once again. Those temperatures across northern Scotland a bit lower, I think, on Saturday, but elsewhere we're looking at a pleasant 14-15 degrees. That's still a little above normal for this time of the year. Second half of the weekend, another weather front tries to push in from the northwest. Again, it is weakening as it heads towards that area of high pressure, but stronger winds for Scotland and Northern Ireland. This band of cloud and what there is of any rain will just trundle down into the far north of England. Some sunshine showers in the northwest later. Head of that cloud, we'll get some sunshine across England and Wales, and in the sunshine it's going to feel very pleasant once again. Those temperatures reaching 15-16 degrees, but it will be a bit colder as you head further north. Back to you, Karin.
Darren, thanks very much. That is all from today's BBC News at 1. I'll be back at the same time tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the day. Goodbye for now.